Do you know what one of the most critical workplace skill sets is? It's emotional intelligence. It is the ability to truly connect with people and to use our emotions to build deeper trust and connection. That is what we're talking about today on the show. I am working with Nadine Zeinoun, and she is an expert in the field of emotional intelligence. And she is going to teach us how tapping into our authentic emotions can actually be a sign of strength and help us in our journey up the corporate ladder. So stay tuned because I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way. I am so excited for this show. We have here an amazing guest. So, Nadine Zeinoun, you are from the Canada area, and you are here to talk with us all about using emotional intelligence as we as women climb up the corporate ladder. So, I am so glad to have you here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you for having me. I'm really delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to share this information, which I'm really passionate about. So, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely. It's something I'm very passionate about too. So I know we're going to have an amazing conversation. Before we start diving in, I always love to just ask, the title of the show is Women Winning Their Way.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you when we say women winning their way?
I love that question. Wow. So first of all, when you say their way, for some reason, it brings out for me authenticity.
Mm.
So, and why does it? Because I believe that what really makes us special
Mhm.
as women is when we don't try to be men or what is expected from men, and understanding who we truly are, understanding our authentic selves, understanding what we stand for, allows us to actually win the way we are and the way we want, not the way other people want us to.
Absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. So let's start diving in. You are an expert in the area, not just of leadership, but especially in the area of emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
So before we dive into how this can be beneficial to women in business, can you just briefly even define what emotional intelligence means and why it's something we need to pay attention to?
Sure. Emotional intelligence is simply, I like to say, like, it's around understanding emotions, our emotions, other people's emotions. And when I say understand them, I mean understand how these emotions that we go through, because we go through millions and millions of emotions during the day. So understand how these emotions are actually impacting us, impacting our decisions, our behaviors, our expression, what we do, what we don't do. So, how do these emotions impact me? Because the way I behave is going to either serve my purpose or not serve my purpose. So, it will allow me to understand that and utilize this information for my best and for who I want to be in this world. And the same thing about understanding others, because when I understand my own emotions, it makes it easier. It becomes easier for me to understand other people and understand why they behave in certain ways. Or perhaps, uh, you know, it's kind of an assumption, but it allows me to connect with their emotions better and really understand where they're coming from. And that's where relationships are created. And relationships are important for our success, simply.
Absolutely. One of the reasons I really wanted to have you on talking about this is because I think this is one of the areas where we talk about building success on our terms and doing things our way. I
Mhm.
think women and emotions have been married together in a negative way through the generations. And you started off the conversation by talking about authenticity, and I think that our ability to harness our emotions and even use our emotions could actually be a really big strength for us in business. So I would love to hear sort of your take on this idea of emotions, emotional intelligence, and women in the workplace.
it what you said is absolutely true. I mean, the beliefs we have is that women are emotional, and
Mhm.
we've always heard it in a negative way. you know, and sometimes I see a lot of people I coach, they hate themselves because they are emotional. They come to me, I don't want to feel anything anymore. I want to just don't care, not care. Yeah,
Mhm.
but my question is, who would we be if we don't care? Who would we be if we put our emotions aside? I mean, God created us like this, and this means this is a strength in us. And if we know how to understand that and how to utilize it as a strength, then we can be really, really successful, and probably more successful than many people out there, just because we accepted that and we used it to our benefit.
Yeah. Because I think so many times, you look at Hollywood in the movies, and I'm just going to use the example of the movie The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah,
It is the ultimate of successful women, is a character that is so tough and so robotic and so unemotional. And the heroine is softer and demure and, and uses her emotions. But again, I think the message out there is if you want to be successful in business, first of all, success is equated with being cutthroat.
yeah,
Again, you have to shut down
yeah.
your emotions. And I would love to just get your take, how can these emotions actually be a strength for us as women, in building success? Because I don't think you have to be cutthroat. I think there was a time because there were so few seats at the table for women. But I think the story is changing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the old way of thinking of leaders, that they need to be cutthroat, they need to be, controlling, directive, my way or the highway. This was a long time ago. But now, especially with the new generations, you can't work with a Gen Z like that. You can't work with a millennial like that. They would leave the second day. So now the idea of leadership is changing, and there's a lot of emotion that needs to be present in a leader for them to be successful, whether a woman or a man. But luckily, for once, we have an advantage because we're already comfortable with our emotions. Or let's say, I wouldn't say we're just comfortable, people are accepting of us being comfortable with our emotions, because maybe they don't have the same belief about men. So let's take that as an advantage and use it. So how do we use our emotions in a good way? First of all, we need to accept them and know that this is a strength. So this belief that this is a weakness, we need to put it aside, because it will only limit us. So we need to accept that we have these emotions because they're giving us information. So what is an emotion? Why do we have it? We have it because it gives us information. It tells us what we like, what we dislike, what we care for, what we don't care for, what do we value, what do we prioritize. Even when you're setting your dreams, I mean, how could you know what your dream is if you're not feeling your dream? So it's all about feeling. Even, our dreams, our feelings tell us what we like and what we don't like. What is it we want to be and what is it we don't want to be? So imagine if you just neglect these and put them aside just because you don't want to seem weak to others. You'd be missing a lot of information that is very relevant to who you are as a person and who you want to be as a person. So that authenticity, you can't have it if you're not understanding of all these emotions that you're going through.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about how, because I know emotional intelligence is a skill set.
Mhm.
So, I'm just going to take myself for example. I was emotional, sensitive. I was told I was too sensitive. So I tapered myself and I became more, driven, focused,
Mm.
again, more of those things. And then when I was given permission to be more authentic, I almost had to relearn it because I wasn't, really sure what was acceptable and what was not. So if there is somebody out there that wants to learn how to connect with their emotions in a positive way, what are some of the ways that we can maybe hone into it and work on developing this skill set?
So the first thing I would say, and this is how I personally started, I'm talking here not theory, but what I practiced. So the first thing we need to do is we need to start noticing our emotions. And the best way to notice anything is to journal, because
Okay.
journaling activates, a part of our brain that allows us to see patterns and see how things connect together. So it's amazing. So start journaling. Yeah, journal, what is it you're feeling, during these days. So what are the different emotions you went through? So recall your day. What are the different emotions? Try to see what was the situation that caused this emotion. So what was it? Why did it bring up happiness for you? So what were you thinking? So try to analyze that situation, and why is it causing this emotion? And when I say why, it's because an emotion is not just a feeling, it's an
Right.
experience. It's a whole experience. So it's a state. Okay. So for example, let's say, Clara, you asked me to come onto this show, okay, and share emotional things about emotional intelligence. So I got excited. So why did this situation excite me? Okay, so that was the feeling, that was the situation. But it's more about how I was thinking about the situation, because I thought, oh, wow, now I have a chance to share this information with more women out there. Maybe I can help women. Maybe I can support women. So these thoughts are what created that excitement. So it's my perception of the situation that created that. So when I journal, it's important for me not only to journal the situation and my feeling, but to go deeper and say, okay, how was I seeing that situation? Why was it making me feel excited, angry, anxious, worried, whatever it is? And was my body reacting to that? Because every emotion comes with a physiological change. And the more I'm able to understand these four components, I call them like the four components of the emotional state, the more you understand them, the better it is that you will be able to address these emotions later on.
So, when I was first learning about emotional intelligence and, being more empathetic as part of it and bringing these, I was told that it was to be considered one of the best and the strongest skill sets to have in today's era. I would love to get ask, do you agree with that? And if so, why? Like what drew you to be so passionate about working in this area?
First of all, you mentioned empathy. I think that empathy is one of the key skills any leader or influencer needs to have. Why? Because without empathy, you cannot connect deeply with people. And life is about connections. I mean, we were not created to be alone. We were created to be in relationships. And that's why relationships give us such great happiness and such great fulfillment and purpose. There's a lot of studies out there that show how important relationships are. Even at work, some people think that, no, I don't need to be friends with this, or I don't need to know them personally. No, you do need to know them personally. Of course you do, because that's what makes us human. It's that connection that we have. And if I don't have empathy, it's very difficult for me to create those relationships and to go deep into relationships and create that trust with people, because that's the key, is me understanding you. When you don't feel like I empathize with you, when you don't feel like I understand where you're coming from, you're going to feel judged by me.
Yeah.
And judgment is the antonym of empathy. For me, it's the opposite. It's the total opposite, and it hurts relationships. It doesn't build them.
Yeah.
And empathy is one of the most difficult skills to have in emotional intelligence. It's easier said than done, because we think we are empathetic, but we're not really.
Mhm.
So really, so to go back to your how important it is extremely important, because without empathy, you can't create relationships. Without relationships, you cannot achieve success,
Yeah.
and you will never feel fulfilled.
Do you know that less than 75% of people do not get enough sleep? I know for years that this was something I struggled with. I would fall into bed exhausted, only to then toss and turn all night long and wake up feeling unrested. Sleep is critical to our health, well being, and productivity. I am so excited to partner with Lisa Gibb and Sam V, who have crafted the perfect night's sleep. We cannot walk around like sleep zombies the next day. Lisa and her team at Sam V understand this. And with over 40 years of quality craftsmanship, Somvi sheet sets are designed to create a perfect environment to offer you a restful night's sleep. They use the highest quality fabrics, and they have products that focus on temperature regulation. Ladies, you know what I mean about that. With their products that include mattress enhancers to sheet sets, lots of different kinds of unique pillows, comforters, blankets, and more. They literally have you covered and ready for a quality night's sleep. All the products with Somv will wrap you in luxury each and every night. The people at Somv are committed to one thing: a quality night's sleep. So connect with Lisa Gibb, your personal sleep consultant, and build your personal and luxury sleep package today. Connect with Lisa at Invest in your rest with Somv today. I want to ask you though, because you mentioned that, it's the what are the hardest things to do? And sometimes we think we are, but we're not. Can you give an example of what somebody might do where they might be internalizing, oh, I'm being empathetic, but it really doesn't? Like, and give us a real
Yeah.
example of empathy.
A classical example, which I see in many, many leaders, because, empathy is very much related to listening. So I hear it a lot. Oh, I listen very well. And when we do like the emotional intelligence assessment, they get a low score on empathy. How did I get low score on empathy? I'm a very good listener. And why do we think we're good listeners? Why? Because, in all leadership trainings, we've learned that listening and, getting ideas is important to do as a leader. So what do? I bring everyone, to the table. Okay, give me your ideas. And then I come in knowing what solution I want.
Mhm.
And, it's a predetermined solution. But because, my leadership trainer told me I need to, get ideas. So I go around the table and I get all these ideas. And the moment I get these, yeah, but that doesn't work because this doesn't work because this is so, oh, we've tried this, blah, blah, blah. And then we end up, okay, here's the idea we're going to go with. And I give you my opinion. So where's the empathy here? Where's the connection? Did I listen to them? Did I make them feel heard? No. If you do a survey with the people who were in that meeting, everyone would tell you, look, he knows what he wants to do, or she knows what she wants to do. She doesn't want to listen to us. She's just doing this as
To
you
check
know,
off the box to
to
say,
check off the box. This is not empathy. If
Mhm.
I really want to, let's look at the other way. So if I am an empathetic leader and I go into a training, a meeting, trying to solve something, I go in with no solution in mind. I start listening to everyone. And even if the idea sounds ridiculous to me, okay, it's not because it's ridiculous. It's probably because I'm not understanding what's good about this idea. So I need to stop myself and say, hmm, why do you see this as a good idea? What makes this a good idea for you? Why are you excited about this idea? And listen and
Mhm.
connect with how they're thinking, because most probably they're thinking in a way that I don't think. And they're giving me new information. They're putting on the table new information, which I would never have seen alone. And it's going to create a solution that's way better than the solution that I had from the start. That's empathy. And people feel heard, they feel excited. They leave the room very excited about whatever decision was made. Why? Because they contributed to it. They felt included. They felt that they matter. They made a difference to the solution. And
Yeah.
that's when people feel the connection and feel the empathy and are really fired up.
Mhm. Are there any, and I don't know if this would be an easy answer or not, but are there any touch points or, things that a leader can look for, pay attention to know if they're on the right track of being empathetic?
Great question. First of all, notice that they're judging. Because when I'm not listening to you, one main reason why I'm not listening to you is because I judged your idea or your opinion as wrong or silly or doesn't make sense or is not logical or whatever. So the first step is me noticing that. And how do I notice that? From your reaction. So if my eyes are on your body language or on your voice,
Mhm.
I will notice a shift in you when I react negatively to your idea. So what happens is usually, and I see this very frequently, when somebody, like, let's say you gave me an idea and I didn't accept it, your facial expressions are going to become not too happy. Okay. So what happens is I judge that as, oh, she's stubborn on her idea and she doesn't want to accept my feedback. she's closed, she's closed down. She's not open to feedback. And I judged you. I just judged you in that moment. And then I pushed my idea on you. But what was actually happened is from the start, I wasn't the one who was open to you. So I need to keep an eye on people's facial expressions. And I need to stop myself from assuming what these expressions mean and interpreting them in my own way, because I'm going to interpret them in my own crooked way. Instead of interpreting them and assuming things, just ask, okay, I noticed a change in your voice or in your face. What's going on, Clara? Did I say something wrong? Did I offend you in any way? And then listen. Oh, no, no, but you're not really getting what I mean. I meant to say blah, blah, blah. So then I can really understand. So keep an eye on people's facial expressions. When they change, stop yourself from assuming and ask, what's going on?
Yeah.
What happened here?
Yeah.
And be
I
open
think
to
there's so
whatever
much
is.
power in that simple thing of just asking. Because
Yeah,
sometimes, again, I've done that where they're, oh, no, 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 that's great. And but they tilt their head in a certain way. And that again gives you feedback. So you know how they actively engage with you. And that's again, like
exactly.
you said, you do this to notice. So these are all the things going back to journaling that you can journal about.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
love
So
that.
it's all about you noticing. And the best measure is people.
Yeah.
But you have to be attentive to their body language and what's going on so that you can make that, reaction or change your own behavior and become curious.
Mhm. Definitely. I love it. And I love the example you gave about, the difference between listening to talk and listening to actually learn and to connect. And I thought that was really powerful. Real quick before we start to kind of wrap this up, I would love to ask because I love examples. Is there an example of maybe a female leader that you look to who has high emotional intelligence that we could learn from?
Last week, uh, uh, oh my God, I forgot her name. Last week, I was watching a leader, okay, on TV, and she was addressing a crowd, and I I really saw how authentic and vulnerable she was. So she was telling them how difficult it was for her to stand there in front of them and address them because of certain things that she went through. And this vulnerability the moment she showed that vulnerability, and she was doing it with such authenticity, she wasn't doing it, to pretend to be vulnerable. She was really living that moment and sharing that experience. And the crowd, oh my God, how they reacted. It was like they were going crazy and they were so inspired by her. And you could see like they were filming the people, the way the people looked. People were so inspired by what she said. And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. It's this vulnerability that she showed that made her connect with that crowd out there.
Yeah.
But very rarely, and it made me think, I mean, how many leaders do we see out there who really accept to be vulnerable? Probably very, very few,
Hmm.
right? Why? Because we associate vulnerability with weakness and they
Yeah.
don't want to be seen as weak.
Hmm.
But they miss the fact that vulnerability is strength.
Hmm.
It's about you being able to show who you are and just let people in and they can connect with who you truly are. It's like the ultimate thing for authenticity and trust.
Yeah.
But people run away from that.
Definitely. Great example. Thank you for sharing that. So, you have really been on this quest to again help people grow in this area. And I know that you're nowhere near being done with all of the goals and things you want to accomplish. So, what is next for you?
Uh, I want to I want to be able to spread this word to more people. So I really want to reach more audiences and bigger audiences so that people can really understand the power of emotional intelligence, and not only on ourselves, but the power it gives others around us and the power of peace that it creates. Because and I think that's why I love emotional intelligence, because it is so peaceful. And when you really go into it and go deep into it, you start understanding that everyone is good and everyone has good. And
Mhm.
we're here to support each other and help each other. And if people are able to embody that, I'm pretty sure this world would be a much better place.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to put all of your information in the show notes. So I know people are going to want to connect with you. They're going to want to follow you and learn more about what you're doing. And I just think you have an amazing gift and an amazing future ahead to be able to make this impact. So, one last question for you, and then we'll close things out. Sitting where you are today, learning everything that you've learned, how do you define success for yourself?
Very nice question. Uh, I think for me, success is when I'm able to see the impact of what I teach and what I'm passionate about on people.
Mm.
I do feel that with, all my clients and when I work with people, but I want to see it contribute more
Yeah.
in this world. So when I start seeing the impact on a bigger scale, I think I would feel like, I really fulfilled my mission or my purpose in this life.
Love that. Oh, Nadine, thank you so much for being a guest. I have learned so much from you. I love being able to connect with you and follow you. I just think that you exhibit so much grace, professionalism, and your passion does come through. So, thank you so much for sharing this message and for being a part of the conversation with me today.
Thank you so much, Clara, for having me, really, and for reaching out to me and for your amazing way of connecting with people and, having a dialogue. I love that. You're
My pleasure.
amazing at this.
Ah, thank you very much. We make a good duo.
Yeah, we surely
Uh,
do.
thank you. I could just talk to Nadine all day. She has so much knowledge in this area. And this concept of emotional intelligence, I really think can be a differentiator between all of us. Again, it's something that's really going to impact us both on a professional and a personal level. So, some of the takeaways that I have is, it is all about managing our emotions and understanding that emotions are authentic, that emotions are not a sign of weakness. We have to use them correctly. This doesn't mean that we could sit at our desk and cry all day long. But when we tap into our emotions, it does show that we care. And one of the things that she talked about is that, we are created to connect. And I've said this before on many other platforms that I feel the three basic human needs are food, clothing, and shelter. And I believe that our fourth human need is connection. And being able to authentically connect and show our emotions is something that is needed and is a really big strength for us, not just as women, but as leaders. She talked about reflecting on them. If you want to get in touch with, are you using your emotional intelligence the right way, to journal about it, to reflect on it. She talked about watching people's body language and their engagement back with you so that this is something that we can work on. And again, if you aren't sure, ask for feedback. I remember when I was learning to get better at this, I had always, jumped in and interrupted. And part of that was because I did want to learn and I was excited. I didn't realize that was shutting other people down. So I was having dinner with a really good friend of mine who had known me for years and had worked with me. And I was sitting back and I was really engaged in the activity of listening. And about 20 minutes into the conversation, he says, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, why?" He's like, "You're not interrupting me." And I said, "No, I'm really practicing. This is what I'm practicing." And he was very impressed. And I've had other people comment on it because it was a skill set that I wanted to get better at. So I was really invested and I could see that feedback. Another thing that she, talked about is, just the idea of understanding that this is something that is a differentiator oftentimes just innately for women. So again, I think when we can hone our authenticity, our emotional intelligence, it's really going to give us a leg up in business and it's something that makes us uniquely us. So love your emotions. Again, use them as a touch point, as a touchstone for you in honing your authentic voice and allowing others to know that you care. And when you are listening, listen with the intent to learn, not just with the intent to talk more. So thanks for being a part of this. Let's make sure that we like, rate, review the show, and let's make sure to go out there and share it with at least 3 other women that we know can shine their light even brighter. Thanks for being here. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way.